At 4:17 a.m. Caracas time, the 36 aerial surveillance radar at Libertor Air Base completed its 4,847th rotation of the night, detecting absolutely nothing out of the ordinary. Just 11 minutes later, that same radar would be reduced to a pile of smoking scrap metal, while the 16 operators inside the underground control bunker sprinted toward emergency exits, trying to understand how a routine night shift had suddenly become the worst moment of their careers. A system worth $120 million, specifically designed to detect stealth bombers, had been rendered blind, deaf, and destroyed before anyone could even press the alarm button. The chain of events began 91 hours earlier, when an analyst at the National Geospatial Intelligence Agency in Springfield, Virginia, noticed something unusual in synthetic aperture radar imagery captured by the Capella 2 satellite over Venezuela. The transporter erector launcher vehicles, associated with S-300VM missile batteries, had moved for the first time in 8 months, leaving fortified shelters near Valencia and relocating to open field positions 23 kilometers northeast. To a casual observer, this relocation might look like routine training, but to planners at U.S. Northern Command, it was exactly the opportunity they had been waiting for. Air defense systems are most vulnerable during movement or immediately after deployment, before they restore full data links with the wider network. The window of opportunity was narrow, perhaps 72 hours before Venezuelan forces completed the redeployment and re-established full radar coverage. At 19:45 Eastern Time the next day, Captain Marcus Chen, a B-2 pilot with 847 flight hours in type, received the call every strategic bomber pilot both anticipates and fears: real mission, briefing in 90 minutes. Target, package, Venezuela. Chen had flown 34 training simulations covering this exact scenario, but simulations never replicate the reality of knowing that within 24 hours, you'll be penetrating hostile airspace in an aircraft costing more than the combined defense budgets of dozens of countries. The briefing outlined the mission to B-2s, call signs Spirit 61 and Spirit 62, would depart at 23:30, not carrying massive GBU-57 bunker penetrators, but something far more versatile, 80 GBU-39B small diameter bombs per aircraft in high-density rotary racks. Each SDB weighed only 130 kilograms, but could strike targets with 1-meter accuracy at ranges up to 110 kilometers, thanks to integrated glide kits. The math was ruthless. 160 independently guided munitions equal 160 chances to destroy radars, launchers, command vehicles, and support infrastructure in a single strike. But before the B-2s could drop a single bomb, someone had to perform the dangerous precursor task. At 17:30 Eastern, 6 hours before the bombers lifted off, 4 F-35 fighters departed Palenquero Air Base in Colombia, officially on a routine training mission. Unofficially, they were assigned the most dangerous type of sortie. A stealth aircraft can fly deep penetration into defended airspace to map electronic emissions. Each F-35 carried only external fuel tanks, maintaining maximum stealth, while housing AS-37 Marauder electronic sensor pods internally. These pods could geolocate radar emissions with 3-meter precision, triangulating signals using multiple sensors simultaneously. Flight lead Major Sara Reeves had direct orders: penetrate 180 kilometers into Venezuelan airspace, remain below 7,000 meters to reduce detection range, force Venezuelan radar operators to activate their tracking systems. They were essentially flying as bait, counting on their low radar signature, around 0.05 m², to give them enough warning to evade incoming missiles. At 18:41 local time, the F-35s crossed into Venezuelan airspace at 890 km/h in a dispersed formation with 12 km spacing. Their radar warning receivers remained silent for the first 4 minutes. Venezuela maintained emission discipline, relying on passive surveillance and possibly foreign satellite-based radar feeds. But at 6 minutes and 34 seconds, the cockpit lit up with warnings. A 96L6 acquisition radar had activated 127 kilometers away, sweeping across the S-band. Reeves did not alter course. The pod recorded every detail: frequency, pulse rate, sweep pattern, power output, storing it for encrypted transmission. Within the next 8 minutes, 3 more radars activated: another 96L6, a 30N6E fire control radar linked to S-300 VM launchers, and unexpectedly, an old Soviet P-18 spoon rest VHF radar from the 1970s. The latter posed a unique threat. VHF wavelengths detect stealth aircraft better, even if they can't guide missiles directly. At 1853, the missile warning system detected the Doppler signature of a 48N6E2 surface-to-air missile launched from an S-300 battery, closing fast at Mach 6, impact predicted in 73 seconds. This was expected, but no less terrifying. Reeves pulled a 7G brake turn, deploying chaff and activating the ANHA's Q-239 defensive suite. The F-35 lacked the raw jamming power of an EA-18G Growler, but could generate enough directional noise to confuse the missile's seeker during the final seconds. At 4.7 kilometers, the missile lost lock and self-destructed, showering molten fragments across the jungle below. But the mission was already successful. In just 12 minutes over Venezuelan territory, the 4 F-35s gathered precise coordinates on 11 emitting radars and inferred positions for 6 silent batteries based on vehicle patterns detected in past satellite imagery. All data was transmitted via encrypted burst to an RC-135 rivet joint, then forwarded to mission systems aboard the B-2 SEV, now crossing the Atlantic. At 22:18 Eastern Time, both B-2s trace crossed the equator at an altitude of 15,850 meters, burning JP-8 fuel at a rate of 2,626 kilograms per minute across both engines. Inside Spirit 61, Chen and his weapons systems officer, Captain Lisa Torres, reviewed the attack plan for the 4th time. Mission planning software had generated the optimal strike sequence. Eliminate long-range search radars, 96L6C, to blind the network beyond 40 kilometers. Neutralize fire control radars, 30N6E2, that guide interceptor missiles. Destroy command and control vehicles to disrupt coordination and recovery. Spirit 61 was assigned 37 targets, while Spirit 62 carried 34. With 80 SDBs per aircraft, there was enough redundancy to restrike any target that survived. At 1:55 local time over the Eastern Caribbean, the third aerial refuel began. A KC-46 Pegasus transferred 42,000 kilograms of fuel across 23 minutes, enough to complete the strike and reach the next tanker on the return journey. Chen held position only 12 meters behind the refueling boom, knowing that a single abrupt movement could damage the B-2's fuel receptacle and force mission abort. It was tense, precise work, but he had practiced similar refuelings 127 times. After disconnect, there was no turning back. Venezuela was next. At 3:52 Caracas time, both B-2 SEDs were 340 kilometers north of Venezuela's coastline, flying in extended formation with 28 kilometers separation. Their APQ-181 radars remained in passive mode, absorbing signals without emitting anything that could reveal their position. Ahead of them, an EA-18G Growler, operating from the USS George H.W. Bush carrier, began transmitting targeted jamming, not a full blackout, but subtle interference that reduced Venezuelan radar sensitivity by 12-18 dB, effectively cutting detection range in half. At 4:11, Torres activated the targeting system. Coordinates had been pre-uploaded into each GBU-39B's fuse and navigation package. Every bomb knew its destination and glide path. The attack required extreme precision. The B-2s had to arrive exactly within a 200-meter virtual box at a specific altitude, approximately 15 km, and precise airspeed. Any deviation could degrade ballistic accuracy. At 4 hours 16 minutes and 50 seconds, the forward weapons bay of Spirit 61 opened. For just 3.2 seconds, the aircraft's radar cross-section jumped nearly tenfold as internal reflective surfaces became exposed. In that moment, a Venezuelan radar might have detected them if the Growler wasn't flooding those exact frequencies with 25 kilowatts of noise, creating a cloud of false returns. Seconds later, the first GBU-39B was launched, followed by 39 more, each ejected at 0.44-second intervals. Their wings unfolded instantly, transforming them into stealthy glide vehicles with a 1:8 glide ratio. From nearly 15,000 meters and 78 kilometers from the nearest target, they silently descended toward their destinations at 720 kilometers per h, each on a unique trajectory. Inside the Liberta base bunker, a radar operator sipped his third coffee of the night when faint returns appeared on screen, too weak to identify. Before he could activate IFF systems, a blinding flash consumed the radar array. The first bomb struck 2.3 meters off-center, vaporizing sensitive electronics with a focused PBXN-109 explosive charge, traveling at 8,400 mph. The operator survived, protected by 40 meters of concrete, but the $120 million radar ceased to exist in less than a blink. 7 seconds later, a second radar 34 kilometers east met the same fate. The operator barely had time to broadcast a warning before his own screen went dark forever. With both long-range radars down, Venezuela's ability to detect threats beyond visual range effectively dropped to zero. But the strike was only beginning. 12 seconds after the first hit, 3 bombs simultaneously impacted a 30N6E2 fire control radar. One destroying the antenna, another tearing through the electronics vehicle, the third disabling the generator. The redundancy wasn't accidental. This system was mission critical, and planners ensured guaranteed destruction. The next 90 seconds saw systematic annihilation, command vehicles hidden under foliage, exposed by airburst thermobaric payloads, launchers in reinforced shelters collapsing when bombs targeted structural joint supply depots, ignited by secondary explosions from stored propellants. At 4:19, 2 minutes and 10 seconds after release, Chen executed a 34 degrees turn northwest while Torres verified telemetry. 37 of 40 bombs detonated successfully, a 92.5% success rate, excellent for precision strikes. Spirit 62, operating further west, reported 34 of 36 confirmed hits. On the ground, chaos reigned. Smoke, destroyed trucks, disabled launchers, broken communications, VHF radios overloaded with panic. With radar coverage gone and sat links disrupted, commanders struggled to assess damage. At 4:37, both B-2Cs exited toward international airspace, never actually entering Venezuelan territory. Every bomb was launched from 78 kilometers offshore, technically a legal gray zone, operationally devastating. Analysts later confirmed 11 radars destroyed 8 command vehicles, disabled 14 launchers, damaged 9 total losses. 6 support facilities destroyed approximately 340 km of airspace, left defenseless. What took Venezuela 15 years and $2 billion to build was dismantled in 127 seconds. Replacing the systems would be slow. Russian replacements would require An-124 cargo flights, risking diplomatic blockages, sabotage, and logistical delays. Even with cooperation, reinstallation would take 6-8 weeks, leaving the country nearly blind to air threats. Moscow would study the operation obsessively. The S-300 VM system, engineered specifically to counter US stealth bombers, had failed under real-world conditions. The implications extended far beyond Venezuela, all the way to defenses protecting Kaliningrad and Moscow. Even though the mission involved no dogfights, no violated borders, no downed aircraft, and only 2 minutes of weapons release, its strategic impact was enormous. The US had demonstrated the ability to dismantle a modern air defense network without crossing enemy airspace, without risking pilots, and without dramatic televised combat, just silent, remote destruction delivered through algorithms and precision explosives. If you found this technical breakdown useful, Be sure to subscribe and comment which country you're watching from, so we can tailor future analyses to your region. This scenario is entirely hypothetical, based on documented open source capabilities, and does not depict real events.